Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever you may be tuning into the Growing Our Future podcast. As always, we start by saying thank you. You know, we can only spend time. So the fact that you're stopping by and spending a little time with us, we just want to say we appreciate it. And more importantly, we hope that we continue to engage in conversations and bring guests on that you want to stop by and you want to take a moment to say, what can I learn today to grow a more incredible future? Well, we're doing something today that we've never done before. We're bringing a guest back, but we're bringing this guest back because there's some exciting things to share that are going on in their family's life, in their business's life, and their business and their family. Well, it's kind of ours too. So I thought it's worth sharing on a broader scale. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. CEO, is that correct? CEO,
CEO.
President, good guy, Tom Ziglar. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Aaron, it is a delight to be back. We in the speaking world, we say they show a lot of trust when they invite you the first time to speak. Right? There's a lot of faith in that. But when they invite you a second time, that's a compliment. So I'm honored to be back a second time. Thank you.
Well, we are honored to have you back, and we've got some exciting things to share. And I'm excited for this opportunity to have you join us and share those things from a very unique perspective. But even though you've been here before, it doesn't matter. Every guest, every podcast, we start with the same question. Mr. Ziglar, what are you grateful for today?
Wow. I don't know. How long do we have?
Yeah, pages.
We got, yeah, I've got pages of things I'm grateful for. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. And I am grateful that I was taught that by my father.
Wow.
Heard him say it 1,000 times. And that it became intentional.
Ooh, that's good.
And so one of the things that I'm grateful for is often I will look into the future and envision the life I want, my relationships, my health, all the things that we're grateful for, right? All the things that are important. And then I will give thanks as if it's already true. And that's really where faith and gratitude intersect. We can be grateful for what we've been given, and we can be grateful for what's coming to us in the future as if it's already here.
We could almost just take that little nugget right there and do a whole podcast just on that one little thing. For the listeners, many of you've heard me on many of our podcast interviews. Many of them, I tell the story about Mr. Ziglar when he was up speaking to some college kids, and they talked about gratitude, and even take it a little further, the emotions that come with gratitude, happiness and hopefulness and energy and excitement. And then when you ask the question, what's the opposite of gratitude? And you go from gratitude to entitlement, and the emotions turn to anger or fear or a bias. And I think, having that choice every morning to wake up and decide, let me see, which emotion do I want to have today?
Yeah. Well, it's you and I were talking before we started about how much my dad was into agriculture. Like, that's how I was raised. But when you think about it, one of the Ziglar sayings is, we create the future we see. And in agriculture, we grow the future.
That's right.
Right. And so when you think about how we go to sleep at night and we dream and we wake up, and when we're unaware, our brain It's a prediction machine, and it's based on all the past. And so it's looking for all the things that could go wrong. It's looking for the people who are unhappy with us. It's looking for the problems that are out there. And so we create the future we see. Or we could, before we go to sleep, we could just write down the things we want to see. I want to see somebody with a smile. I want to see opportunities. I want to see young people looking for a path that I can show them. And when we wake up in the morning, our brain is going to be laser focused on finding that.
Yeah. What the mind's eye see, the body does.
That's right.
That's good.
So that's why we express gratitude in advance as if we've already received it, because all we've done is taken our brain's natural bias and we're using it now for us instead of against us.
Well, let's talk about that today. So I'm grateful. And we'll share some kind of negative things. I'm grateful, I think in hindsight, that my mom and dad divorced. I have to be grateful and thankful that my dad was a Christian, but he did pass away at an early age. I have to be thankful, grateful that I needed direction. And I'm grateful that there was a place called Cal Farley's Boys Ranch. And a guy that raised me named Mr. Chandler that told me I needed to be an ag. I'm from Dallas. And I'm grateful when I was a senior that a friend of mine named Tom Maynard gave me this book. See You at the Top. And when I was looking for a mentor, Tom graduated. He left, but he left me this book. And this guy that authored this book, this guy named Zig Ziglar, never knew that he became my mentor. He never knew that the words in this book were the encouragement that I needed at that moment in my life. The words in this book inspired me to run for FFA office. I became the state FFA president. I lived in Dallas, and on the weekends, I actually had the opportunity to go downtown to the First Baptist Church and go to the encouragers class that Zig taught. He never knew I was there. I just sat in the back and just soaked it all in. Grateful that I had great mentors in my life. Life's path took me down a road, and it wasn't long till I found another one. This Choose to Win. And all of a sudden, I found new words of encouragement, new ways to look at life. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and it threw us all a curveball. But guess what? That Ziglar legacy and that Ziglar brand was still around, and lo and behold, boom, 10 leadership virtues for disruptive times. And the fact that I even got to author just a little intro to that book. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, it's an honor to know Tom Ziglar. It's an honor to know the Ziglar family. It's an honor to know the Ziglar brand, because I think of what difference it's made in my life. And I've been able to share that with kids from coast to coast, with adults from coast to coast. And there's something coming up that we're going to get to talk about. But before we talk about that, for those that don't know Zig Ziglar, that may not be as familiar with Zig Ziglar. Well, this is Tom Ziglar. This is his son. Tom, would you tell us a little bit, for maybe somebody that's new? And it's okay. I've been late to a lot of buses, but I still got on them. They may be late to the Zig Ziglar bus, but maybe they've heard the name, but tell us a little bit about your dad. Tell us a little bit about Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, I'll go chronological. 100 years ago, on November 6th of this year, he was born in L.A., Lower Alabama. He was the 10th of 12 kids. A few years after that, they moved to Yazoo City, Mississippi. His dad was a foreman on a farm, ran a big farm. That's why they moved. And that was during the Great Depression. His dad ended up dying soon after they got there. Dad was 5 years old. And so now he had to work when he was 6. So his first job was selling peanuts on the corner in Yazoo City, Mississippi. They had a farm, they had milk cows, they had the whole 9 yards. And it was a hard time. He didn't do well in school, just to give you background. Dad used to say he was in the part of the class that made the top half possible. But a teacher changed his life. A teacher, Dad loved history, and this teacher made Dad fall in love with history.
Mm.
And the point the teacher made was this. He said, those who've been given extra have a responsibility to reach down and help those others up who don't have as much. Because if they don't, by sheer weight of numbers, those with less will reach up and pull those with more down.
Wow.
And Aaron, I think that is an early version of you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want, which is Dad's most famous quote. So he graduates high school, goes straight into the Naval Air Corps. He wanted to fly airplanes. The war ended before he ever did. Met my mom at the YWCA. He was 18, she was 16. At a dance for, mom was looking for a handsome man in a uniform, and she found one. They fell in love, got married 2 years later. He gets out of the military, goes to college, doesn't do well. Only, I think, does maybe semester and a half or something. Doesn't finish. He gets a job. And it's a sales job. They were looking for a $10,000 a year salesman, and he needed $10,000. So it was a perfect fit. So the problem is that for 2.5 years, he didn't sell anything.
Mm.
Well, he did. He sold his car. He sold his furniture. And then one day, a mentor, somebody he looked up to in the organization, his name was P.C. Merrill. Dad went to a meeting. He was always there. His mom said, if you're in it, you're 100% in. So his work ethic was always there. So he's at this meeting, and P.C. Merrill pulled him aside at a break, put his hands on his shoulders, looked my dad in the eye, and said this to him, said, Zig, in all my life, I've never seen such a waste. But, now in this structure, but is really important because but always wipes out what came before it. I've never seen such a waste, but if you believed in yourself and went to work on a regular schedule, you could be a champion. And so because the man he looked up to said that to him, he made a commitment to figure out what does it mean to believe in yourself. And that year, he finished number 2 out of 7,000 salespeople. And in the previous 2.5 years, he'd never finished in the top 5,000. So what changed? The product line didn't change. His product knowledge didn't change. His knowledge of the scripts didn't change. The only thing that changed was 2 things: his belief in himself And he made a commitment to knock on the first door, because it was door to door back then, every single day at 9 a.m. And so that was the jumpstart of his professional career. And when you all of a sudden are setting sales records,
Mm.
then they want you to do sales training. And so he started getting recruited and hired away, and he was doing sales training, and he learned very quickly that sales skills are really important, but nothing compared to those personal beliefs and attitudes and motivations and habits that allow your sales to be effective, because that's what happened to Dad. And so that's how his career started. And then 1972, he connected all of his hard work with his faith, became a believer. And that's when things changed, because now he was doing it for a bigger reason than himself. 1974, See at the Top came out, his first book, the one that you were holding up. Millions and millions and millions of copies sold. Over 45 books have been published now. And we estimate that he impacted 250 million people. And it's out of that very foundational combination of, you can have everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. That motive, right? That desire to make a difference in somebody else's life. And that's really what, I mean, when I think of ag teachers, and why do you do it? Why do you do the extra work?
Right.
That's it, right?
Right.
Because, 99% of the time, they're not having parades for you. They don't see you staying extra.
No.
Or working with that student who just found out their parents are getting divorced, I mean, that's why we do it. But he combined that with the work ethic.
Yes.
Right. And that's what people saw on stage. That's, with all the people that he spoke to. I mean, there was a 30-year stretch where he spoke 30 to 40 times a year with an average audience of over 15,000 people.
Wow.
I mean, that will never happen again. That was a time in our history's country, right? Because it won't happen now, because we've got, internet
Right.
and social media and
Right.
all those things now. It changes it. So that's the impact. That's who he was. And now there are literally, 250 million people have been impacted, but hundreds of thousands of influencers and leaders and decision makers
Yes.
who are building their companies, their organizations, leading their family around these principles that he taught. And by the way, I heard a preacher say one time that a great preacher, all they do is they tell a timeless message in a timely way. And that was my dad's gift, was to speak timeless truth in a way that people understood it, could remember it, and could apply it.
Who said that? Do you know who said that?
I don't know. I think
That's really good.
I think Franklin's grandfather said that.
It was really good. I mean,
And that's who we give credit to when we don't know who said it. Ben Franklin's grandfather.
your dad's recognition of gratitude so early on in his life, I found very inspiring. And I say that because I've got to believe that both his mom and dad kind of started planting those seeds in his mind and in his heart of gratitude. And it was Miss McDermott Warren was his first grade teacher that told him, "You'll never know when a helping hand will change another person's life." And when I read those words, I thought, that speaks to a person's soul in a way that I don't know outside of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ himself, of saying, you've got value, you've got worth.
So let's let's talk about her. His first grade teacher. And when dad was in the first grade, he had every childhood illness you could have: measles, mumps, whooping cough, everything. And he missed so much school that he wouldn't have graduated.
Right.
He would have had to repeat first grade. But Ms. Warren drove to his house, and he would come out a couple times a week and sit in her car, and she would catch him up one-on-one. And so she was able to pass him. So what does that mean? Well, his senior year, he was only 17, and the draft was on. So because it was his senior year, he went to night school to get the credits he needed to graduate high school when he was still 17. And if he'd missed that year, it'd have been 18. And if you turn 18, you're in the draft. But if you're 17 with the degree, you can opt in. So that's what he did. He took night school so he could join the war effort. He opted in. He went into the Navy. And because of that, he met my mom.
Wow.
And dad said 1,000 times, if it hadn't been for the redhead, that's what he called mom,
Right.
you'd have never heard of Zig Ziglar. So because a first grade teacher,
Mhm.
you can have everything in life you want, did the extra, took time out of her day, didn't have to. He kept up with his class. He got out early. Met my mom. Now it gets even cooler. My mom's dad, Thomas Abernathy, founded Scouting, Boy Scouts of America in
Really?
Mississippi. Yes.
Wow.
So Abernathy found Scouting, and one of his scouts was a young man named Joby Harris. And he mentored Joby Harris through Scouting. And Joby Harris went on to become a high school history teacher who had my dad fall in love with history based on what we talked about earlier. So my mom's
Wow.
father mentored the young man who influenced the man who would eventually marry his daughter.
Man, I just I've shared so many times that you take a lot of these tests, DISC, strengths finders, indexings. I've taken them all. And when it assesses my skill set, it comes back that I'm a pretty strong strategic planner. And I tell people, let me tell you something. I ain't got nothing on the man upstairs. I said, the dominoes that get put into place and aligned in our lives so that when they begin to tumble, they create momentum and velocity. When I hear stories like that, it's just another stark reminder. Number one, the importance of faith. And number two, the importance of moving. Your dad had to take action. He had to believe that he could do it. He had to move. But he needed somebody to be the catalyst and saying, move. And when I look at what you're doing today with the Ziglar programs, all the programs, you've got so many incredible programs. Mostly recently, the Be the Light, which is so inspiring. For those that don't know, look it up. Be the Light. You said it earlier, it's a noisy world out there. And we need to always be focused on the truth. We need to be focused on the things that bring light and encouragement. And that's what Zig was. Zig was what, a beacon of hope?
Yeah, 60 Minutes did an expose on him. They were trying to make it negative, but they really couldn't. And they named him the Merchant of Hope.
The Merchant of Hope. Good for them.
Yeah.
Glad that worked out for them.
When I was a little boy, Aaron, I asked Dad, I was like 9 years old. I say, Dad, what do we do? Right? Because when you're 9, you do what your dad does. You do what your family does, right? That's who you are. And he said, son, we sell hope and encouragement. So here's something that's interesting. I love the Gallup organization and all the polls and studies and surveys they do. And so in 2026, they did a global survey and they asked tens of thousands of employees from companies all over the world. They said, we want you to tell us what are the most essential and needed leadership qualities that you look for in your leaders. Like if you could just boil it down to a couple, what are they? And the number one quality that people today in this world want from their leaders is hope.
Just hope.
Hope. And how does that show up? So this doesn't matter whether you're a teacher or you're leading a student organization or you're running a business. It shows up as vision. It shows up as, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to accomplish. This is the problem we're going to solve. This is the difference we make. And if you say that every single day in different words to different groups on your team and your kids and everything, what happens is subconsciously people look up and they go, well, they keep telling me what the vision is. And I get kind of excited, but that means that there must be a place for me in that vision. That gives me hope. That means I matter. That means I can be a part of this. I can be part of something bigger than me.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's the number one thing. Well, this is no surprise. Number 2 was trust.
Trust.
So at the end of the day, you can give me all the pipe dreams you want, but if I don't trust you, it's not going to matter. Right? So hope, vision, those go together, and integrity and trust go together because trust is the byproduct of integrity. So if you're a leader, you do those two things. And then this comes back to my favorite Zig Ziglar quote that not very many people know about. And it's this one. Dad said, never give a promise without a plan. So what's the promise? That's the hope. That's the vision. And what's the plan? That's how we're going to get there. And if I don't show you how to get there, how can I trust you?
And that is so good.
So, and that's,
and I thought I knew them all.
I find old recordings and manuscripts and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, I haven't seen that one before.
That was almost, not completely, that's almost worth the whole podcast right there. So we put together this podcast as a way to bring subject matter experts out to our FFA students, Texas, National, our agricultural science teachers. But Tom, I've got to tell you, a lot of the feedback we get about the podcast are actually from business people that just have found it, tune in, and they say, wow, those are some really good points. Which is why I always say, like you said earlier, if you want to know what the future is, grow it. That's what agriculture taught me. And I'm really starting to learn more about Zig's earlier years, and I realized that Zig was doing the exact same thing. He was planting seeds of greatness in his own mind, which allowed him to bear fruit, that he planted those same seeds of greatness into the hearts and minds of others through hope, trust, and vision. We could sit here, no question. We could do a series of podcasts on Zig Ziglar, on the philosophies, the strategies, etc. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to do that. but we do have an opportunity coming up in October. And you referenced it earlier. November 6th would be a benchmark year. It would be Zig's 100th birthday. And to honor a century, y'all let that sink in. Friendships, families, we get decades. Century of pouring hope, trust, and encouragement into so many people. Tom, tell us about this incredible event coming up in Franklin, Tennessee at Dave Ramsey's campus. Looks like a campus.
It is.
But we're going to get to come and celebrate the legacy, the mentorship, the hope, the encouragement, everything that Zig Ziglar represented. Tell us about this event coming up in October.
Wow. So I like origin stories. So I'll give the quick origin story.
Okay.
Last year, my daughter, Alexandra, who works with me, she does all of our social media, our marketing, our email, event planning. She's great. She says, hey, next year is Papa. That's what she called Dad. Next year is Papa's 100th birthday. I think we should do something big. And I said, yeah, I agree. We should do something big. Well, my idea big and her idea big. I need to grow my big, right? She says, do you think Dave Ramsey would host us at his venue?
Mm.
He just built this. It's less than 3 years old.
Mm.
It holds over 2,000 people. And it is state of the art. I mean, it's got the screens built in and all this different stuff. So I said, well, my daughter just challenged me. I'm going to email Dave Ramsey. Now, we have a 20 plus year long friendship with Dave Ramsey. And I know a lot of people listening to this have listened to Dave's show. And if you listen to Dave on a regular basis, you hear Zig Ziglar quotes. So you know that the dad had a huge impact in Dave's life.
Mm.
So I emailed Dave and I basically said, hey, Dave, question. Would you consider allowing Ziglar or a business like us to rent your facility? We want to do this event. And he responded back instantly, absolutely not. But for friends. And so from that moment, he put his team on it. And I don't know, I feel like royalty. So we've got it set up. And his team member, they're putting this together and they're like, you want Dave to speak, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I've already asked for a lot. And they said, well, why don't we just get on his schedule when he's already going to be in town anyway? Because they do huge things. And so October 16th is the date. So before I could blink, we had the event, the logistics, Dave, and then I get an email a couple of days later from the lead on this team who's helping us do this. He goes, hey, we just did a big event with Brian Buffini. Now, Brian Buffini, as far as I know, runs the largest coaching group in the United States.
Mm.
He works in the real estate world and they coach realtors. His business, I just saw a reel that he put out. They do $2 billion. And so the guy says, hey, we were with Brian yesterday. He spoke at our event and we said he needed to come and he said he wanted to come. And so I call up Brian Buffini and he's like, Tom, I'm there. What's the date?
Wow.
And I go, I know. He goes, I know it's in October. What's the date? And you could hear this like quiver in his voice. And I said, October 16th in Franklin. So Franklin's just outside of Nashville, for those who don't know where Franklin is. He goes, "Oh, that's good. That's good because I've got an event that I have going on in Austin on October 15th."
Mm.
And he says, "I'm going to load up." He's got a private plane. I'm going to load up my plane. I'm going to bring as many people as I can with me. I'd be glad. I'd love to do that. And I'd spoken to Todd Duncan, another guy who's coming. And Todd is probably the biggest brand in the mortgage industry as far as training and development. And when I asked him, and then we talked about it, he starts tearing up because his life was changed by Zig Ziglar in a one-on-one conversation.
Wow. Wow.
And so all that to say, we've got Bob Bodine, who is one of the most gifted connector presenters. Sports Illustrated named him the most powerful man in college sports you've never heard of, because he places head coaches and athletic directors. That's what he does. A Division I university says, we want to do a coaching change. Nobody can know. You need to find us a coach. So University of Colorado calls him up, and the next thing you know, Bob places Deion Sanders there.
Mm.
That's what he does. So we've got all these people who have built enormous organizations and had incredible impact from the same root of the tree, which is, in their own way, they did totally different things, but it's that Ziglar philosophy. So we're calling it, the day is called Zig Ziglar's 100th See You at the Top birthday celebration. We call it the transformation experience. So
Perfect.
who needs to come? There's two types of people who need to come. You already know that this stuff works because you've got evidence in your past. And you want to be in the right room with the right people who are doing the same thing, and you want to go to that next level. You want to supercharge, and you want to hear how these men and women have built these organizations on these principles.
Mm-hmm.
And all the speakers who are speaking are asking me the same question. Like Brian Adams. Okay, so Brian Adams is speaking. Brian Adams is the CEO of Integrity. Integrity sells more insurance than any other organization in the United States. They have 600,000 agents. And Integrity invited Ziglar in, and we have developed and created their leadership program. We've trained in a 3-day program over 600 of their top leaders around the Ziglar leadership principles. And Brian's going to be speaking there. And Brian's like, so what's the message? And I go, hey, we want you. I mean, think about this. Okay. So this is what I believe. So dad's going to be watching this from heaven. Okay. Which is kind of cool. And I said, he doesn't want, if you're going to speak for 25 minutes, he doesn't want 20 minutes of how great Zig Ziglar was.
Mm.
What he wants is that 2 or 3 minutes of transformation that the Zig Ziglar insight gave you, and then how everybody in the room can implement and follow and do what you did to build themselves and their organization from your own perspective. So we're going to have 10 or 12, probably 12, maybe it's 13 now, speakers during this day who are going to share this.
Wow.
One of the guys who's coming, Michael Chandler,
Yeah, I saw that.
MMA.
I can't wait to shake his hand.
So Michael, young guy, well, Aaron, the older we get, the younger everybody else is.
I know.
He has had an amazing career. He did a reality show with Conor McGregor. He's a big name. If you go on Michael Chandler's social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, every video he puts out, he ends with the statement, "See you at the top." And it's his honoring dad, and it's also his beacon, right? That's the light, right? He wants, and so he's going to be there. So we've got so why do you come? So I said, if you've already experienced this, you know why you got to be there. If you're sitting here going, well, I don't know what a Zig Ziglar thing is like, or maybe you're like most people, you're maybe you're stuck, or maybe you're doing okay, but you know there's more, right? You know that there's something that if you had a new perspective, it would just unlock the potential you have inside of you. That's who's going to be there. And one of the things that's really cool, Aaron, we were talking about this, is the people who are coming, they're bringing the people they care about. Because Dad, I mean, here's the question. What's the one thing in the world everybody needs? They need hope. And so at this event, you're going to get the hope, but you're also going to get the plan. So it's the promise and the plan. And I'm grateful. And I want to get as many in the FFA family there as we can. Dad spoke at national conventions. He hosted national officers in his house when they would come into our Born to Win seminar. He scholarshiped them. Just incredible. And you've been to our office, you've seen the plaques and all the stuff, man. It's great. So October 16th, and you just go to Ziglar100.com. I mean, that's how easy it is.
We'll put that in the notes of the podcast. Man, Tom, there is so much there. So much that you just shared. I'm inspired already. And by the way, I've shared with Tom, and Tom just shared with us that Zig spoke at the National FFA convention on more than one occasion. And when you know Zig's background of hard work, integrity, and it was rooted in agriculture, and then in working in a small retail grocery store in sales, he legitimately was farm to table. Zig Ziglar, in the world that we talk about, a farm to table, that was Zig Ziglar. So we had an appreciation for the hard work and what it does to create the life of a food chain. Zig got that. And then he added this human element of, if it works here, I wonder if the same concept would work in people. And he started to plant seeds of greatness and of hope and of encouragement. And, somebody the other day, I was pitching the 100, telling somebody about it. I said, man, I'm going to go. And they said, Aaron, why are you going? And my answer was real easy. I said, number one, I'm going out of gratitude, because Zig didn't have to share his words of encouragement, but he did. So I want to go say thank you. But I know that when I get there, because of what you just shared, I'm also going to grow. Because I'm going to grow, because I'm going to learn a lot of more things that I didn't already know. And I'm also going to be gifted. I'm going to be gifted with the encouragement of like-minded people. I've said it, people know me, I say it all the time. If you want to be the best, train with the best. You just expressed a lineup of presenters that are the best. Guess what? I want to show up and learn from the best. You mentioned Brian Adams. For you Texas FFA folks, I hope you caught that man's background, his credentials. And it started in a little town outside of Lubbock, Texas, in the FFA program in Rawls, Texas. and he's gone on to do incredible things. We've got something here that we can lean into that will only make us better. And I think we're very fortunate to have access to it. I'm looking forward to going. I'm looking forward to hopefully encouraging some of my friends to go, some of my colleagues to go. I would encourage all state foundation directors, all state staff to maybe even encourage your state officers to consider making the trek to Franklin, Tennessee for some professional development with some of the best minds, business, coaching, encouragers in the country. Like I said, I'm going to be there because I want to say thank you, Zig. That's me.
Awesome.
That's me.
Awesome.
I want to say thank you. But in true Ziglar form, if I didn't go there to get better, to gain new skills, to encourage and to share hope with others, then I would have really missed the opportunity. So I'm going to show up, say thank you, and give it to me. Give me, what do I need to be gooder? What do I need to encourage better? What do I need to spread more hope? Because as you said earlier, the world needs it. Our communities need it. State and country need it.
Yep. So Aaron, here's a connector for you. You know, Dad said that coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. So ever since we dreamed of this event, and then we got Ramsey to say yes, the theme of the day, so it's called See You at the Top, right? Because that's the iconic thing. But the theme of the day is to be the light. And the idea is that when you come and you learn and you get motivated and you get inspired, you're also going to get equipped. Right. And so what do we mean by that? Well, we got to be the light. The world is noisy. There is distraction, and people are believing lies left and right. And so how do we drive that out? Well, we be the light, right? How do we do that? So that's the theme. So we go out, and now we're doing a site visit. And we walk into the foyer of the event center, and there's over the main entrance is a scripture. And the scripture is the light on the hill. And I get chill bumps because it is the source of be the light. So we see that, and I'm like, that's the theme. That's the theme. And so then we go down and we get a chance to we set all the arrangements, and then we go down to the main building, and we get to meet with Dave. And Dave says, "What do you think of the facility?" I go, "It is unbelievable." He goes, "What'd you think of that chandelier?" And so when you look into the foyer, there's this huge chandelier, and the front of it is all windows. And he said, "You know that our event center is on the top of the hill, and you can see that chandelier from miles away." And I said, "Dave, did you know that our theme is be the light?" There's 4 main corridors to go into the auditorium, and he has an iconic figure represented in each one of those corridors. And it's one of those pictures that's in segments, and when you walk towards it, you see the person, and when you walk the other way, you see their quote. So one of those corridors is a picture of Dad. So it's already got, and there's Zig Ziglar quotes already in that amazing facility. It's like it's already branded. I mean, how cool is that it's already branded? So it's just It's just incredible.
It reminds me of the Z Cloud. It reminds me of Bible verses. It just reminds me, again, that there is a strategic planner in place that's putting all this in place to continue the hope and encouragement. And as you said, not only that, but to be the light.
Yeah. And so for those of you looking for hope, for those of you who have responsibility of leadership, so people are looking to you for the hope. They're looking to you for the light. Just know that what we're doing in this day is we're giving you the promise and the plan.
Ooh, the promise and the plan. I'm in.
Yep. It's an incredible thing. And we'll have resources at the event and afterwards to keep going. But this is what we know. Legacy is a ripple. And so, and I like, I tell people this, if I'm working with you, coaching with you, and you have a breakthrough, I'll give you a high five. If you take what I teach to you and you work with your student or maybe your own child or maybe somebody on your team and they have a breakthrough, I'll give you a double high five. But if you teach somebody and then they teach somebody else, I do the Snoopy dance. And so everybody on stage are the people that I do the Snoopy dance for because they have taken these principles, applied it. Howard Partridge in his small business community, unbelievable the impact that he's had in hundreds and thousands of business owners growing their small business, making them scalable and creating a life for the owners, and then teaching the owners how to equip their leaders to come up and grow it. Billy Cox, same thing. His businesses have done billions of dollars in sales.
Yeah.
And how did he do it? By this legacy effect of equipping leaders who could then equip leaders who could then equip leaders. Chris Dunham is speaking, and he spoke on the same stage as Dad, like maybe 250 times.
Wow. Wow.
And he's made 100 trips back to India teaching this. Just incredible. Michelle Prince. She's now an executive at Forbes in the books, helping people get published. She had her own publishing company. She came through Ziglar. Born to Win changed her life. She comes to Born to Win. And then a few years later, I hire her. She works for us. And then the big bucks lure her away. She goes off and she goes, wait a second, I wasn't meant for this. So she starts her own speaking and career and helping people publish their own books. And she just, Forbes Books came to her and said, we want to acquire you and we want you to run our other book divisions.
Wow.
And so what's the thing that you'll see in common with everybody on the stage is their heart. So there's a lot of successful people who could be on this stage. But that's not the requirement. It's more than that. I kind of like the Chick-fil-A example. At the end of the day, Chick-fil-A has 80, 100,000 resumes of people who want to run a store, and they weed it down to like 300. Then they do hundreds of, tons of interviews with all of them. And then the executive team and the family, when they vote on who gets the store, they all have to say yes to this question. Would I want my son or daughter or my grandson or granddaughter who's 17 or 18 years old, would I want them to work for that person? And if they can't say yes, they don't get a store.
Wow.
And isn't it really how simple it is? That's how simple it is. And so that's who's on the stage.
I'm excited. It's going to be an incredible day. It's going to be another legacy moment in the legacy of Zig, all the people that have carried Zig's brand and your brand, the Zig Inc. brand. And again, the fact that we can do it for various reasons. Some people will be very much focused on, I'm a coach, I need skills to coach, I'm going. Others will say, I want to go around so you can do some professional networking. There's going to be a lot of reasons why people are going to want to be there.
Yep.
And I'm just sharing that for me.
And there's one more. And so your audience is going to be the first to hear about it. Dr. Robert Rome is also going to be speaking.
Wow.
And Dr. Rome is probably the foremost expert and communicator on the DISC personality profile.
Right.
Here's what's interesting. Dr. Rome was Dad's class pastor at First Baptist Church. And that would have been 40 plus years ago.
Man.
And we've remained really close. He's now spoken to probably millions of people on stages with 20, 30,000 people. A lot of the big Amway events and network marketing events around the personality profile. And in fact, I'm so excited that he's there as well. When my daughter, Alexandra, went and got certified in the, in the DISC, and after she was done, this is back before she was married, she said, do you think Dr. Rome would marry Zach and I, her husband? And I said, let's ask him. And so we did. So you're going to get some inside scoop on Zig Ziglar. But again, that's going to be important, right? That might be the catalyst, but Dr. Rome, I don't know how many thousands of marriages that his insight has saved. All right. So you're going to get wisdom from all these different perspectives, all the catalysts from Zig Ziglar.
Well, now you've thrown something else up. Like I tell the young people and I tell teachers, what's the easiest way to revise history? The easiest way to revise history is to not know it. Because if you don't know it, you're liable to believe anything. And I think one of the beauties of what you've put together here and what God has inspired is the fact that we're going to value this moment that we're getting to come together. And we're going to hear a lot of history. And that history is based in real testimony of people that lived, believed, were encouraged, empowered, equipped, and were able to be the light because of Zig Ziglar. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on our way to the top. I am also encouraging for all of our listeners, again, go to Ziglar100.com, Ziglar100.com, and you can read all about the presenters, the program, the opportunities. And if you are friends with me, you're probably going to get a personal email from me. So, because like Tom said, I know you. If I know you, guess what? I want you to be happier. I want you to be more encouraged, more equipped, more empowered. So I'm going to share this with you because that's how enthused I am about it. So Tom, thank you for taking some time. Thank you for telling us a little more about your dad. That background just is inspiring and encouraging of itself.
We started out with what we're grateful for. One of the things that's always on my list is no matter where I go in the world, because I've spoken all over the world, spoken to the biggest companies on the planet, been to Papua New Guinea and spoken there, right? That's kind of like different ends of the spectrum. everywhere I go, I'm speaking to friends and family because the Ziglar legacy has preceded me. And that is the biggest blessing of all. I mean, that is an amazing thing. So when I get up in front of a room, it's not in front of strangers who I'm worried are going to take shots at me. They're people rooting for me who are grateful to be there and are just wanting to see this message carried on because it made such a difference in their lives. So thank you for having me here because it's always a blessing.
Well, everything you just said is how we came together. And then, on a personal note, for what it's worth, I know we got to wrap up, but on a personal note, I want to say thank you to Tom. And I know Tom heard it from his dad, but I'm going to go ahead and say it from a lot of other people. Tom, we are proud of you. We are proud of you and your effort to keep moving forward, to keep growing the legacy of Zig Ziglar. And I like it that you're doing it your way. If you know Tom Ziglar, he is not Zig, but he's not trying to be Zig. He's Tom, but he's carrying on this incredible message that his dad poured into him and poured into all of us. And so, Tom, I guess when we're expressing gratitude, we need to stop and thank you too for your leadership because it's not easy.
Thank you so much.
It's not easy. If leadership were easy, everybody would do it. So I know that you've done a great job. You continue to do a great job with the legacy brand of Zig Ziglar. And I just want to say thank you because there's a lot of us that have benefited from it. Okay, just because everybody that knows me knows that every podcast ends with a fun question. Last time I asked Tom, what's the best concert you ever been to? Don't know if y'all remember or not. I ought to give away a prize. But I asked Tom, and it was The Showman.
Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman. Never forgot that. So I had to think, what could be a fun question for Tom this time? So, Tom, if they were to make a movie about Tom Ziglar, who would be the lead actor that would play Tom Ziglar?
Man, who would play Tom Ziglar? Matthew McConaughey.
There you go. Matthew, I love it. Matthew McConaughey. I bet he could pull that off too.
He's a talented dude.
I bet he could pull that off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another wonderful podcast with another incredible guest, Tom Ziglar, to talk about Zig Ziglar, to talk about what he did, who he poured into, the hope that he shared, the encouragement, the equipping. I could do a whole podcast just on skills training and how Zig was ahead of his time. But for another day, for now, we're just going to say thank you for joining us. Check out Ziglar100.com. And if you do make it to Franklin, Tennessee, be sure to come by and say hello. I'm not hard to find. Just look for the Danny DeVito lookalike that sounds like a Texan and you'll find me. So come on by, say hello. And Tom, thanks again. And not only will we see you at the top, we're going to see you in Franklin, Tennessee on the way to the top.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.